So I'm Chase Merlin. I lead product at Brale. We do Stablecoin-as-a-Service. So we help businesses create their own stablecoins and process payments on Hedera and other blockchains. So we recently integrated Hedera, so allowing businesses to issue stablecoins on Hedera. We're pretty new to the ecosystem. It's been about 2 months. So came to talk on the RWA panel and just trying to meet a number of people in person. We've talked to some of the wallets and custodians and stuff, but seeing people in person is always great. Most of the work we do is payments, so international payments. And so, having high throughput, low fees is really what our clients care about. And so obviously Hedera is really well positioned there. And obviously having fixed fees is something that's very easy to understand for fintechs. Take a use case. So again, mostly we're doing payments. If you take someone that's maybe sending money from the US back to Mexico or sending money back to the Philippines, traditionally they're paying maybe 6 or 7%, which is a huge amount for people paying back. And so on blockchain rails, you can get this down to like 1%. And so in our case, the end user doesn't even necessarily know in many cases that they're kind of using blockchain, but they're leveraging Hedera because the fees are so low, because things are so fast. And so that's why the fintechs like it. And sort of we're helping to bring on, basically mainstream, just normal users who, we're spinning up wallets in the background and all that kind of stuff. So they're benefiting from Hedera, but they're not necessarily, they don't have to do anything, basically, just kind of stay with their typical flow. It was a good panel. We had Centrifuge there, and then a couple folks that were tokenizing real estate. And I think, what we see a lot of as stablecoin issuer is, most of these stablecoins are backed by real world assets, things like treasuries. Again, what we see right now is, again, with the rise of chains that are very fast, low fee, like Hedera, along with some of the regulatory changes in the US, it's now possible really to send money around the world. Again, like instantly, you can send money from here to Mexico in 5 minutes, et cetera, which I think is cool. It really touches people's lives. And so some of the other panelists had some of the other, takes on real estate and some of these other places, but we're really seeing growth of real world assets around payments. There's been a lot of acceleration and regulation, right, in the last couple of years. Like there's a lot of places like Singapore, Europe are a lot more clear. Now in the US, obviously the previous administration was tough for many of these companies. A lot of people we talked to, a lot of these businesses wanted to get into stables, they wanted to get into RWAs, but it's just a bit scary. Things have changed, right, dramatically. I think also there's like the stablecoin bill going through Congress, which has bipartisan support. It's not done yet, but things look pretty constructive. And so we're just in a place now where there's the environment's way more positive and things are way more clear than they were, a year ago. As someone who's built on quite a few ecosystems, I found Hedera to be super supportive, like from the foundation level down. And then as you start to talk with a lot of the builders here, there's really a lot going on in the ecosystem. People are really passionate. I think something interesting about Hedera is you got everything from these institutional use cases down to like consumer, things like karate combat, and like everything in between, which I think is really cool. You're sort of blurring everything from these very buttoned up use cases, payments, all the way through meme coins. And I just think in general, like people were really friendly. Like people, we're new and people were always like willing to give time and help us out, which was awesome.